Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a very casual video where I am just going to talk you through the 10 books that I'm getting rid of before the end of the year. So I like to do book unhauls pretty frequently. I don't like to hold on to a lot of the books that I'm getting rid of, so I tend to do these quite often, even though it's small numbers of books usually. It's just nice to get them out when I want them out. So without further blabbering, let's talk about the books. The first book I will be getting rid of is The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. I did not like this. I listened to it on audio. This edition has never been read, but I just could not get into it. I had listened to it, I think, 2.5 years ago. I had given it a shot and I just didn't like it. And then I had put it down or stopped the audiobook and I had restarted it back in October, I want to say. And it just did not work out for me. It just had that YA curse for me, where I know YA, I've grown out of it a lot, and it just doesn't hit like it used to, and I'm not really sure this would have hit for me even if I was in the target audience. I just didn't love the storyline. If you don't know, it's about this town that is magical, and they know that fae exist, and they have this fae boy that is in a glass coffin in the woods, and he's asleep, and he's been there for years until one day he's not. And then we follow a set of twin siblings as they go on this adventure in their town. It was just okay. I think I gave it like a 2-star in the end, and I just don't need to own this anymore. Then I'll be getting rid of The Coldest Girl in Coldtown, also by Holly Black. I actually really liked this one. This was a 4-star for me. I listened to this also back in October. I listened to this one first, and it got me excited for The Darkest Part of the Forest, but I just did not like it as much. However, this one, as I said, I loved. It is about a girl, what is her name? Tana, who is living in a world that knows vampires exist, and that there's kind of like a pandemic of vampirism, and if you get infected, you basically need to go to a cold town to basically quarantine for the rest of your life. And there were definitely some things that I was like, oh, this is interestingly relevant. But she is traveling across to the next cold town because she might be infected. She lost a ton of her friends to a vampire attack, and she's now traveling with a boy who is infected but not quite a vampire, and a very, very old vampire, and we just see their adventures. It's kind of funny when I think back on this book, the things that happened and how I probably normally wouldn't have loved it, and I'm not really sure why I was so into it. The writing was really good, maybe that's why. But either way, I'm definitely not going to reread this, and if I do, it's not going to be physically, so I'm going to pass this on. Next up, we have Death by Petticoat, American History Myths Debunked by Mary Miley Theobald. I don't know what made me pick this up like right before Thanksgiving, but I did. It was fine. I've had this on my shelves for years. It's one of my oldest books on my TBR, and it was such a quick, short read, so it was really easy to get through, but I'm never gonna reach for this again, so it can go. And then another not so surprising one, I listened to this is Caraval, obviously, by Stephanie Garber. I listened to this one as well, did not read this copy, but I gave it a 2-star. I just didn't love this. I think it has an amazing premise, and the premise is kind of what kept me holding on to it for so long. And then when I got around to it, I was just like, no. I wanted to love this. Unfortunately, I just didn't, and I don't think I'm going to be continuing with the series, and I'm not going to hold on to this. Next up for books that I've read, this is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Allison Feeney. I liked this just fine. It was a 3-star solid read. I actually really enjoyed it at first, and then upon further inflection or reflection was like, do you really want to give that book a 4-star? And it was like, no, it's a 3-star. So I gave it a 3-star. I'm not going to reread this. Kayla pointed out how Alice Feeney's writing is very focused on the plot and you don't have a lot of other things to distract you from that, so it's kind of easy to make predictions and have those predictions be correct. So because of that, I don't think this really serves well as a reread, just because I feel like I'm going to remember each plot point very clearly if I were to pick this up again, and since I'm not going to reread it, I'm going to unhaul it. These next two, a little hard for me. So this is Watch Over Me by Nina Lacour. I loved this. I gave this a 5-star. It's not quite in my top 10 of the year, but it was definitely like honorable mention, top 15. Why am I getting rid of it though? I'm probably not going to reread it. I think I had to be very honest with myself when I was putting this away after putting it in a video. And I was like, are you really going to read this? This is YA. It's amazing YA. It's about a girl who is 17 or 18 and she is in foster care, and she's being sent, or she's asking to go to this farm full of children who are also from foster care. And in this world, ghosts are a thing, and this farm has ghosts, and it's just part of life there, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But I had to like think about it like really hard and be like, where are you gonna reread this? Like, just because you loved it, are you gonna reread it? And I had to be honest, probably not. I probably could have just checked this out of the library, and I'm gonna try to get better at that. Books that I think, even if I think I might like them, but I probably won't reread, I should just check out of the library instead of spending money on them. But I really did love this book. I'm just not gonna reach for it again, so I'm gonna pass it on to someone else who can enjoy it as much as I did. Oh goodness. And then I'm gonna unhaul Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This was one of my favorite books in 2019, and I love this series. I didn't love The Box in the Woods, but I have loved this series since I first read this one. I was never really disappointed. I just was very into it the whole way through. But I'm not going to reread it. I think for the longest time I was like, no, I would definitely reread that. I love those books. And I also like love these covers, so I was kind of like, I must hold on to that and I must collect the others. I'm not going to reread this. It's not a simple mystery, but it is a YA mystery. And because of that, I do pretty clearly remember the happenings of each book. I don't think I get a lot out of a reread. I know I have some mystery thrillers that I feel like I would pick up on things if I were to reread them. This one, I might, but I also probably would find myself kind of annoyed. I think at the time I was completely enthralled with these books when they were coming out, and it didn't bother me that I had to continue waiting, and that like those 3 books are kind of like one book in a way. It could have been, and there's a lot of filler, but I don't know. I just feel like while I loved this when I read it, I actually read a library copy of this and bought it after. I don't think I'm gonna reach for this again. And if I do, I can check it out of the library. That's something that I always tell myself, like if I really want to reread a book that I've gotten rid of, I can just check it out of the library. I don't need to own every book that I love. And then the last 3 books that I'm going to be getting rid of are books that I have not read yet. So first up we have The Kiss of Deception by Mary Eve Pearson. So I once upon a time had all 3 of these. I slowly whittled it down to this one. I think this is in a These Books Will Self-Destruct in 12 Months video of mine. I'm not going to get to it. It's just not my thing anymore. I have to be very honest with myself about YA nowadays because I have grown out of it. And while I still enjoy some YA, I just don't think this is going to be for me. YA fantasy has never really been my thing, and I just don't think that this is going to be it. I once upon a time didn't want to get rid of this because I felt like I was missing out on something. And the longer I've looked at it, the longer I'm like, girl, you're fine. So I'm going to pass this on. Then we have A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. This I was holding on to because I'd heard good things years ago. I have yet to read a Libba Bray, so I was like, oh, it could be this one, and because the diviners are so damn long and scary. But when I look at the diviners and I look at this, I don't want to reach for this. So I'm just going to pass it on. I think this was also in that These Books Self-Destruct video. And honestly, I'm just not going to get to this. It's just kind of the same thing. It's YA. It's just not my thing anymore. And I just need to let go of the books that I didn't get to that I'm probably not going to enjoy now. And that also goes for our last book, The Dark Days Club by Allison Goodman. I read this in, or I put this in a first or try a chapter tag, and then I think this is also in the self-destruct video. I just don't know that this was ever for me. And I think I kind of convinced myself that it was, and in reality, this was just never going to be my thing, and I need to accept that and move on. I was flipping through it the other day, and I was just kind of like, this is a long book, and you're not that interested in it. If it was a short book that you weren't that interested in, I might have kept it and tried it, but because it's so long and such like a commitment that I'm probably not going to get payoff from, I'm good. So those are the final 10 books I will be unhauling in the year of 2021. I am very proud of myself of the amount of books that I've been able to unhaul this year. I'm less proud of the amount of books that I have hauled this year, because in the new year you will see a book haul that I'm excited about, but I'm not proud of. I would say it's a good way of summing that up. But I am trying my best to read what I have, get rid of what I'm not going to enjoy or haven't enjoyed, and just kind of lessen the number of books that I own, just because it's a lot. It's a lot, and no one person can read that many books with the way that I also check out books and buy books. I gotta be realistic. So that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, all the normal stuff, and I will see you all again really soon. Bye!